Okay, so now that we have our perimeter laid up with light glass, we're going to lay the whole surface down with 1.4 ounce. And to do that, I'm going to use these little 2-inch foam rollers I got from Home Depot. And I used to, paint with a 2-inch paintbrush like this, or lay the glass in first and dab. And honestly, I found it's a lot faster and probably a lot better to use the roller because it picks up any excess epoxy. So most of you, I'm sure, if not all of you, have painted a wall at some point. So it's basically the same thing. There's probably people that put the glass in first. I really don't know if there's a difference. I don't know what's better, if at all. This is how I've been doing it, so it works. So I'm just going to keep doing it. Just make sure everything's covered. And honestly, I'm shocked that once you put this little bit of epoxy in here and then put your sheeting on, that the sheeting gets sucked down and sticks to it. Because before I knew better, I was putting way too much epoxy on, and you really don't need much because the bag really pushes down on it and makes sure that the skins are pressed against the surface of the mold and everything is locked in. Alright, so I'd like to do both of them first before I put the glass in, just to make sure I have enough working time, because as I said, I'm using the US Composites fast drying epoxy, which only gives me about 20 minutes of working time. So I need to move rather quickly, which is good because I get it done fast. I'm doing this in my basement. If I was doing this outside, I'd probably I wouldn't make it. I'd be mixing up a batch for this side and that side, and that would not be a good way to do it. But it works okay in my basement. I'm able to get this done and no problem. It never gets above probably 65 degrees. So okay, so now we have both sides wetted out with epoxy. So now we're going to put the skins on. Now there's guys out there I've seen in the sailplane forums that are just awesome. They have all of their pieces cut perfectly. They fit flush up against the edge. I don't know how the hell they do it. Honestly, I try to get it close. If I end up cutting it too close, then if you get the glass misshapen at all, then it doesn't fit right. So I make it oversized. I've tried both ways. I'm not good enough to do it the way those guys do it. So I have it over the edge, and that honestly, has worked fine for me. So now, if you use 3/4 ounce glass for this, see, look, even I cut this oversized and it still doesn't make it to the edge. So I'll probably have to. I know why. Because I have this too far down to the left. So all you have to do is just slide this down a little bit. But what I was about to say was, when you're using the 1.4 ounce, it's somewhat forgiving wrinkles wise. The 3/4 ounce is very tough to work with. You can see I got a few wrinkles here, but that's because I was trying to reposition things. If you use the 3/4 ounce for this, I find it to be very difficult, so I don't use that for the first layer. I think you need the extra strength from 2-inch anyway. And then you just smooth it all out. Get any air bubbles out. It's really not rocket science here. see why I don't do this for a living. I can do it and get it done, but I wouldn't say I'm great at it. I used to have a tendency to always be adding more epoxy, and everything I made was heavy. So now I make sure I don't necessarily add it unless I need it. I try to spread it as far as I can without needing more. Got an air bubble, smooth it with your finger if you're not allergic to epoxy, or whatever you have to do. Okay. One done. I'm trying to make sure I overlap down the end. Should have made this a little bit bigger. I want that to overlap down at the end here. Everything starting at the middle always helps, just like with covering. I'm going to start at the middle and push your air bubbles out. Kind of pulling as you roll helps get the air bubbles out too. Now you notice I made a line right here, and that's our hinge line that I need to put either Kevlar or peel ply to make a live hinge. And if you forget to do that after you put your sheeting on and close up your molds, you're really screwed, because there isn't much you can do, that I know of anyway, to fix that. I've done it once before where you do all this work, you close it up, and then you realize you forgot to add that, and there's nothing you can do because that's your hinge, and it's built in internally, so you need to have that done before you go to the next step here. So that is my next thing to do, and I need to remember, and that's why I put that line there so that I remember as I'm going that I need to do that. One other area is anytime you have any carbon reinforcement, which I have right here, I need to add carbon reinforcement. You don't want to forget that either, because you can't add that later. And I do need to do that, and I actually forgot to cut a piece, so I need to cut that in a second. If you have some areas that get missed with the glass or with the epoxy, or the glass or the epoxy, you can go back and add pieces in. I found there's no problem with doing that. Somebody might tell me differently, but I've never had an issue with that.